Welcome to the first video on a series called the Imperial War Academy, a compilation of lectures on military lessons and ideas designed to educate the officers of the unknown trading company to increase their individual capability and overall interoperability. The lessons and lectures featured will mostly be general, as the science of warfare is large in scope and contains many intense disciplines. Now, without further ado, let's begin. First and foremost, we should understand the very basic necessity of learning to fight. There are many reasons to fight, but many are also too specific and peculiar to an individual situation or station. Many fight for reasons such as glory, fame, or fortune, others because they were coerced by their group or consider it their duty. The most delusional answer I have ever heard from someone about why they fight is that they fight, quote-unquote, for honor, which in the UTC is taken as a vain answer that would lead to a fool's death if it wasn't a real war. I personally doubt that person even understood the concept of honor, but I digress. Doubtless, the basic underlying reason why we should learn to fight or study martial sciences is because if we don't, others will, and this would leave us at the mercy of those more adept in its art form. As stated in the Manual of Arms 2015 by Captain Irish Kaiser of the South Aspermont Regiment, considering the importance of the art of fighting, they are essential for any clan or group that wish to acquire prestige and or maintain their own security. The rate and path that people have adopted fighting styles and methods varies from group to group, but the end result is always the same. Those who maintain a degree of adeptness are much more able to venture out and spread their name and influence, for they fear few, if any, what the world might throw at them. In short, si vipacem, para bellum. If you desire peace, prepare for war. Regardless, it is rare for many people to all have the same motivations, unless common perils compel them to band together. When they all have the same raison de guerre, a group would operate and fight with zealotry. An example was the common threat of premiums in the Southern War, which gave the UTC its motivation to fight, regardless of the odds arrayed against them. The willingness and desire to learn how to fight made the UTC an effective force, because they were all fighting for the same thing. Recent situations encountered by the UTC, however, in which the clan, having achieved degrees of in-game superiority, consequently no longer sees the premiums as the major threats they once were, and so they begin to deteriorate in quality, if not in quantity. By mid-2016, many began to join the UTC for different reasons, and the company's soldier, which was once considered as the most reliable, most disciplined, and most effective person to be by your side, was so reduced in quality that they started being called initially as conscript infantry, for being able to perform only the basic maneuvers and simplest battle plans. Eventually, they came to be known as African warlords, indicating an increasing absence of discipline and appreciation for strategic thinking, but still quite adept at raising hell. This transition increased the overall cost in operations, with runaway battles and unplanned adventures that pockmarked the clan's record for professionalism and precision. Still, the UTC did not abandon its previous preferences for superior organization, strategy, and tactics, but always returned to them, provided they were given the proper motivation, usually via heavy casualties or a defeat. For the officers, it is important to take note of their subordinates' motivations, and they must learn to synergize them to the operation as a whole. Naturally, the ideal is a homogeneous army, but the ideal is usually just that, an ideal. Reality shows that people have different reasons to fight, and this affects with how they fight. Some fight for vengeance and because it's personal. Others to fulfill their sense of duty. Plenty fight for loot, and of course, a lot fight because it's fun. This is still a game, after all. So how does one convince people to fight for a cause they might not believe in? The tried and tested method Irish Kaiser relies on is not a mass army, or a levy of all the strength of the entire unknown trading company, though he technically has the power to do so. Instead, Irish Kaiser prefers smaller, well-organized, close-knit units, slowly building up an army from the core of dedicated volunteers. Even if the army is only composed of 2 or even just 1. The armies led by Irish Kaiser only achieved victory in his wars because of near unbreakable morale. The small volunteer forces gathered by Irish Kaiser played and strategized on the handicap. This volunteer force would not base operations on phantom divisions, or resources that they know they don't have. Eventually, this would attract more people as they accumulate victory after victory, and a snowball effect takes place. In contrast, a more privileged opponent would decline in morale, as being exposed to defeats to an inferior opponent or having no targets would whittle away their own combat power. The psychological shock of an increase in numbers over time amplifies the attack on a demoralized enemy's mindset. Thus, the bravery and resolve of a small group are passed on if they acquire reinforcements, and the ardor and the spirit of the larger group becomes dampened over time. Another method involves using peer pressure. People want to be accepted by their group or community, and want to prove their loyalty to their friends. However, this puts a lot of strain on just how far one's friendship can go. Aside from friendship, shame is also a powerful tool, as many don't want to feel that they let their friends down or be seen of as weak or a coward among their peers. However, the Unknown Trading Company does not recommend on using this method frequently, as it can dangerously become a form of emotional abuse and blackmail. The final method to be discussed is just simply known as mutual interest. Some people may find that their interests align and that opportunity can be found in participating with the operations to advance or enrich themselves. These types of people may join in the endeavors to increase their chances of becoming a company member, or to have a chance to fight a player that they don't particularly like, or even just have an excuse to swing their sword at something. Despite the many conflicting reasons everyone else has, the proper officer understands that all these methods are not mutually exclusive, meaning that all three can be used at the same time, depending on the people composing their army. Knowing how to manage everyone's desires and willingness to fight, regardless of different interests, can lead to a very potent and effective force. As stated in the Manual of Arms 2015, moral force, rather than numbers, decides victory. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.